Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Charlie. It's a 420 Bible study and Torah tour. Yes, 420 Bible study Torah tour, right? Who thought we could put it all together? Well, I figured it out because I've been given life, an opportunity at life, a second opportunity. Because I was very sick with bleeding ulcers, blood transfusions, upper endoscopies, lower endoscopies. But then I found a little pause in my bleeding because of pot. Now at that time, I didn't know anything about pot. So my wife said, stop using pot. I was like, okay, sure. Sorry, I lied to everybody. My bad. Ripped apart my family, totally blew up myself. My fault, my fault. Yes. So we don't lie, and it's our fault. First lesson and second lesson of the day. What's the first rule of holding a bat? Right? This is a team. What's the first rule of holding a bat? Bat safety. You hold the bat down, right? What's the first rule of being with a woman? Safety. Exactly, the same thing. So with that, 3 months later, I found that I was back in the hospital having a blood transfusion, my third, and I was like, wait, the only thing I stopped doing was using pot. So I found that there's actually a correlation. Did you guys know that you have an entire system of cannabinoids in every cell of your body from the cannabis plant? And yet you're made perfect by God, because I was going back to church and hearing every week, reminders, 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 and they're good reminders. Hey, I'm made perfect. So at that point I went from deathly ill to full life, totally sinning, totally error, mistake after mistake after mistake. And that's my definition of that word, sin. I don't like to use it. I like to define it a little differently so we can understand it. You guys play sports? You guys make mistakes? You guys make mistakes at work? You guys make mistakes? We, ladies and gentlemen, make mistakes. It's what we do. We're human. So we're going to stop beating up on ourselves all day long, every day, trying to figure out how we get out of this earth by using drugs or using pot or using liquor or tequila or women or booze or food or whatever your addiction is. I'm sure you have one. I'm sure you and your conscience inside battle over that all the time. That person that's talking to you is battling for your body, your mind, your heart, your soul. It's trying to give you a different perspective, but it's the battle. It's the inner turmoil, right? Well, it's the inner labor that we do. So going from death to life, finding out all this information, finally reading the Bible. I never read the Bible. I actually never even opened it until 3 years ago. Three years later, I can, confidence, blowing your mind, blows my mind. To this day, I still have revelation after revelation. I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that, and I didn't think about that. And then it came down to, it's the thought process that we are going to have to deal with. On earth, why are we here? Is there an afterlife? What is it like? Well, did we read the book? No, sort of, not really, not in a long time. Good, honest answers, right? So we haven't picked up the book in a long time. We haven't been on the field in a long time. We're really out of shape. Either we're fat, or we're tired, or we're at work. We got to do this. We got to run here. We got to run there. Stop the rat race for about 15 minutes a day. Maybe 20 minutes and 40 seconds. Let me just get you one video a day, even though I'm going to drop 6 or 8 a day. At that point, there's a lot of people that need to hear the real news. Did you guys know, have you ever heard of the word Hashem? That's actually God's name, and He's Jewish. He's the one that has no image and no form, just a voice. The voice that's in all of our heads, that's why some of these things make sense. So Jesus is the Son of God. He actually rose. God raised Him from the dead. He's going to raise us from the dead if we believe. Where? Where? Where do we believe? Show me where I believe. Oh, yes. In here, in here. So you have to have a heart, you have to have a brain, and you have to think that somewhere there was a flood a long time ago, and then came the rainbow, right? Well, I brought in some music to bring us back to the basics of, the smell of my son, and is the sun where we can actually go for the throne and the temple and the altar and the burnt offerings. Maybe it is on the sun where everyone's full of fire and a fragrant aroma. Well, how do we get there? We have to start studying Torah. We have to start reading the Bible. We We have to start worshiping correctly and believing that when we serve our God, that we actually can serve Him food, and we give Him food offerings. So it's kind of like feeding deer or feeding birds. Give them some bread, they'll come. They'll come. I gave them some bread earlier and we're getting warmed up. So with that, it's a long introduction, but it is letter 15 today, and we're going to get into 1 Corinthians as well. So we've got our alphabet cards, which is really good. But I wanted to make sure that we have our brain and our heart aligned, so I got some music. So let's listen to an old favorite.
Now you just help us out today and find yourself a place where you won't get into any trouble.
Do you guys recognize it?
Some place where there isn't any trouble.
No trouble.
Do you suppose there is such a place, Toto? There must be.
I think there
It's not a
is.
place you can get to by a boat or a train.
By a boat, you can burn it.
It's far, far away. Behind the moon. Beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow. Way up high.
I'm not singing this one.
There's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby.
Was a lullaby. All right. We're going to slow this one down, and we're going to get over to a little bit of brain thought real quick. I did a little bit of DJing. We'll see if we can do it. I'll turn it up. See if it's not too loud. Here we go. Oops, got to rewind it. There we go.
What would you do with a brain if you had one?
Do? Why, if I had a brain, I could while away the hours, conferring with the flowers, consulting with the rain.
Talk to the flowers, consult with the
I'd
rain.
be scratching while my thoughts were busy hatching if I only had a brain. I'd unravel every riddle for any individual in trouble or in pain.
With the thoughts you'd be thinking you could be another Lincoln if you only had a brain.
Oh, I tell you why the ocean's near the shore. I could think of
Genesis
things I never
1:6.
thought before.
Where's
And
heaven?
then I'd sit and think some more. I would not be just a nothing, my head all full of stuffing, my heart all full of pain.
Oh, the offering.
I would dance and be merry, life would be a ding-a-dairy if I
Only had a brain. I'll put this on Facebook as well.
Wonderful. Why, if our scarecrow back in Kansas could do that, the crows would be scared to pieces.
They would? Where's Kansas?
That's where I live. And I want to get...
The crows, it's a scarecrow. What does the aroma do? It scares away the birds, right? So they don't come and take the bread. Yes, we're going to shoo all of those energies away, and we're going to bring the energy to us. And that's kind of what people have been talking about, I don't know, since 1939, since 1839, since 1439 BC, when Moses was in the middle of his 40-year ministry. 1465 to 1405, 40 years he walked and took the Israelites out of Egypt into the wilderness for 40 years, and they had manna and quail, right? So with that, let's get to, well, we'll do another rainbow song, and we'll get into the alphabet. So today's day 15, right guys? And we have letter number 15. Where did it go? There it is. So you guys ready for your alphabet? Yes, are you guys ready? Anybody? You guys got to speak up. I'm just kidding. Don't speak up, don't yell. So I'm just going to press play and go. All right, so here are our letters. The first letter is A. Do you guys remember what it is? Aleph, very good. Bet, very good. Vet, very good. Gimel, very good. Who knew you can go to Hawaii with palm trees and study Dalet in the Hebrew language, right? Because everywhere you can want to go, you can go in your mind. That's why my bucket list is over and done with. I did it all. Now I want to do heaven, whatever's next. Hey, what's next, guys? Vav, Zion, Ket, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Kuf, Kuf, and Lamed. Lamed, 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 Lamed. Lamech. Lamech, right? So with that, we're going to look at the word Lamech really quick, and we're going to see how Lamech is used in the Hebrew language in the Bible, right? So, Lamech. So we got Aleph, Bet, Gimel. I'm sorry, what? Huh? Aleph, Bet, Vet. Let's start again. Aleph, Bet, Vet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zion, Ket, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Kaf with no dot. There's the difference real quick. There's the dot again as we learn the dots. One's a K, one's a guttural like cough or char or something. Cough. 14 is cough. And the letter of the day is Lamed. L. It looks like an upside down P. At that point, you guys can practice writing your letters too, right? That's kind of hard on the internet. So with that, let's lower the volume and get to Bible Gateway to look up some verses that have to do with Lamech. And we'll open up our Torah, because we have our Torah and we have our Bible, right? Carry one of these always where you go, because when you want to have reading or reading time, you'll always have a book to read. It's funny, last year my kid was in 4th grade and he's like, I have to do reading 20 minutes a night. I'm like, okay. He's like, but I don't have a book. Mom, I don't have a book. Mom, Dad, you guys need to get me a book. I'm like, you have a Bible, you have a Torah. He's like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, it's reading for 20 minutes about a story. Let me help you. And then he started reading and reading and reading, and he did like 2 stories a week from the reading assignment and 2 Bible stories a week. And he was like, wow, he understood his stories. Kids understand amazing things, right? So we're going to look at Genesis 4:8. We're going to go all the way back to Genesis and figure out who Lamech is really quickly, because we're going to look at the letter L today. And we're going to look at the letter L today in the letters of Paul. Paul. Yes, the letter L is quite important, right? Because if you switched, if you had B-A-L-M, balm, like the balm of Gilead, and you took out the letter L, and you had B-O-M, well, you might think it's B-O-M-B, balm. A different balm? Yes, one's for destruction, one is for instruction. So, Genesis 4:18, it's about Cain and Abel, and it's going through who each person is in the beginning. And we'll go over that in detail, but I want to give you the Lamech name so you can hear it. And also what's really interesting about Lamech is that it's got a K or a K at the end. So you have Lamech. Okay, so you have Lamech, and I didn't get the M. So Lamech. And that's kind of how we use our letters to find names in the alphabet, because we want to know not just the verse, not just the meaning and interpretation, but this book is our family history. Welcome to Judaism by faith, because we're Christians, because we believe in Jesus as the Messiah, and the Jews actually didn't. They didn't believe the prophets. They didn't believe what Moses said, because he actually didn't do all. He's coming back. But no one recognized his form because he's a branch, right? So with that, Genesis 4:18. Okay, we'll start with 4:17. And of course, before we do the reading, or any reading in the Bible, or the Torah, we take a break, we pause, and then we get to it. Continuous error, right? Okay. So we'll start with 17. The descendants of Cain. Wait a second. The descendants of Cain? Isn't that sugar cane? But it's C-A-I-N, and this is C-A-N-E. Really, it should be C-A-N-E-H. The land of Canaanites. Caneh, Caneh. We talked about that. Cinnamon, cinnamon, incense, right? So we have the S, the C, and the Q, and the K all mixed in, making different sounds. So we have learned Lamech is the L letter of the day, but Lamech is the end of his name, and it's a CH. But right away, we start with another word, Cain, C-A-I-N, or C-A-N-E, or is it really just Caneh as C-N-H? That's what it is. So, and Cain knew his wife. He knew her. You can determine the intimacy, but he knew her. And she conceived. Well, there's the intimacy. And bore Enoch. Enoch is awesome, by the way. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mehuiel, and Mehujael begot Methusiel, and Methusiel begot Lamech. There's Lamech. Lamech took himself 2 wives. The names of one was Adah, and the name of the second was Zillah. And Adah bore Jabal, and the first of those who dwell in tents and breed cattle. So Jabal was the first of those who dwell in tents. Maybe that was the Rechabites. The name of his brother was Jubal. So you got Jabal and Jubal. At that point, interesting. Interesting names. He was the first of all to handle the harp and the flute. So Jubal was the one who lived in tents, and Jubal did the harp and the flute. And Zillah, too, she bore Tubal-Cain, who sharpened all cutting implements of copper and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. At that point, that's just learning our family history and what some of our ancestors did, right? We just wanted to look at the word Lamech, and ironically, we're almost all the way through our first 20 minutes. Wow. So we're going to open up and we're going to get to letters, and we're going to look at what Paul did in 1 Corinthians as we flip through the first letter that he wrote. Well, it's the first letter that's actually listed here. So as we approach the end of the first 20 minutes, I'm going to start with 1 Corinthians 4, the nature of true apostleship. And the reason why it says nature is because it is nature. So, in looking at the word Lamech real quick, because it's still in front of me, it says, here's something, Genesis 5. Altogether, Lamech lived a total of 777 years. Okay? And then he died. Now that's really interesting when you look at 70 times 7 at 77, 7. There's a lot of 7s involved. And so that's the whole point that we've seen. Now in Luke 3:16, it says, the son of Canaan, the son of Cain, the son of Canaan, Canaan, the son of Arphaxad, the son of Shem, the son of Noah, the son of Lamech. So at that point, we're starting to see the generation evolve since the first of mankind. And we're not from apes, guys. So we'll be right back a few minutes, a few seconds, however long it takes you to kick on the video. And we'll talk about 1 Corinthians 4. All right. Thank you, Hashem, for this day and this video. Thank you, guys. If you want a class schedule or a schedule of the practices, I think you're supposed to hit subscribe. I don't know how to do that yet. And if you want to like it, great. But I suggest if you don't like it or you want me to add something or talk about something, write me a comment and tell me why. I always want to know what you're thinking. So does God. So with that, are you guys thinking? And what are you thinking about? It's interesting, he said, I'm no longer a slave of fear. You switch teams, but we're still slaves. We go from the world to heaven, but it's a much better courtyard.